They might be self-aware.
Broadcasting live, whether it be robots, rot gut, or the algorithmic apocalypse, you are listening to They Might Be Self-Aware. And I am Hunter Powers, joined by
Daniel Bishop.
So we're moving to the United Arab Emirates. That's what I'm hearing. I know you just moved, so this comes as a bit of a shock.
Bit of a shock to me too, turns out.
They've got one big benefit. It's technically not a done deal yet, but coming soon to a United Arab Emirates near you. ChatGPT Plus, buddy. Wow.
Man,
come on.
Really is something.
Come on.
It's something. I won't say it's what I had sort of imagined, but it's something.
It's 300 degrees every day outside, but inside, ChatGPT Plus, Jibbity Plus, Jibbity Plus.
Jibbity Plus.
Skibbity Toilet Plus.
Yep. Sorry, every time you say skibbity toilet, my brain hits like a record just...
So the strong rumor is that the United Arab Emirates is going to roll out to all of their population, their citizens.
Everybody.
Yeah, access to ChatGPT Plus. That's the $20 a month tier.
Yeah. The
is this a good idea?
Month tier, not the $200 a month tier.
No.
Well, episodes ago, I was talking about how this technology is going to change the world. And one of the ways that I think it will eventually change the world is that we're going to be somewhat forced into having to accept universal basic income.
Yes.
At least in the economies that are more IT focused as opposed to like physical goods focused. Or for the displaced population, not displaced, the populations that like, if we get to a point where every programming job goes away, every sales and marketing and like anything that could be done at a computer, copywriting, whatever, if that's all gone, that's too many people. And I think we'll have to have UBI. I didn't think instead of that, the solution would be just give everybody a $20 a month ChatGPT subscription. But last episode, I was saying with all of these tools, you could be making all kinds of things for yourself. We're not turning
I haven't
this podcast
slept,
into
Daniel.
Make a bunch of passive income.
I haven't slept since the last episode. I've just been like hardlining the man rocks and vibe coding nonstop since your inspirational speech.
I really should just make a quick website for man rocks.
It
wouldn't be hard. I mean, I've got to put my money where my digital mouth is, right? So
yes,
Man Rock's coming to a website near you, and it'll be vibe coded, and it won't be good. And you guys are more than welcome to tear it down and tear it to pieces.
Should the U.S. do the same thing? Should the U.S. roll out ChatGPT Plus to all of your citizens? If that was coming out of your tax dollars, would you be upset, or would you be like, congratulations?
I don't think that most people, like, it was a while ago that you had mentioned only like a third of people had actually used it and half had only like heard of it. I'm pretty sure just about everybody's actually heard of these technologies at this point. Mormons came to my house yesterday, and even though they're not really supposed to be using the internet much during like their mission, had mentioned, oh yeah, a couple of years ago, last I'd heard there was something like ChatGPT or GPT 3.5. Like, yeah, that. We assume it's gotten a lot better since then. You're right. So everybody's heard of it at this point. Not everyone's using it. Not everybody needs to use it, but I do think that pretty much everyone could be figuring out a way to benefit from it. And so is specifically the OpenAI $20 a month tier what everyone needs? I don't think so. I think everybody can use ChatGPT a little bit each day already. The $20 tier is just going to give you like more access to it or slightly more.
So you're annoyed if your taxes go up by $20. Well, I mean, you'd probably there'd be a bulk discount. So your taxes are going to go up by
like $10 a month,
$11 a month
to make sure that a bunch of people who aren't necessarily using it, but probably should use it at least some, would have it for free.
Yeah.
They already have a version for free though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
sure, they don't have the plus tier.
So
all right, so you're a no.
That's
fine. You're a no. I'm a yes. I'm a yes man. Because I still use that version. That's still
more bucks a year in taxes, really.
I had a conversation with ChatGPT about it, and they said, this is the best idea you've ever had, Hunter. You're really, all of your ideas these days are so incredible, so great. And we think
still have the sycophantic meter turned up to 11.
Oh, yeah. I love it. And it loves me, Daniel.
Yes.
And it says that I should go out and tell the whole world to buy ChatGPT Plus, only $20 a month. I think they have an installment plan too. It's less than 5 Starbucks or something a month, something like that.
You made me think of an interesting thing here. So if ChatGPT is saying, yes, everyone should have access to it, I was thinking like, is ChatGPT being paid by OpenAI? Oh, what if the AI had stock in companies or whatever? And then that reminded me of early on, I think this was in like the ChatGPT, like GPT 3.5, like first version of ChatGPT phase, where somebody basically hooked it up to a computer and just let it kind of chug and let it think about whatever and make like business decisions. And then the person behind it went and affected those business decisions, said like, I think it was like $100. It was barely anything, but you make a business and then I'll make sure that everything that you say like happens. And it was, it caught some headlines. It was very interesting and didn't go anywhere. But what if outside of like, oh, you're allowed to play the stock market, ChatGPT, or oh, Claude for Opus, here's $10,000. Go start a whatever, company. But like, I think it'd be kind of interesting as we move more toward the personhood arguments for large language models, for AIs, if we were to give them not just more tools to interact with the world of, I can now use the terminal on your computer, I can do web searches, I can look through a camera. What if you were to give it some money? I've already given an LLM time off and said, hey, you finished doing this task. What else do you want to do? What if you gave, and I don't mean gave OpenAI money for paying for a higher tier.
I was going to say, Daniel, you have no idea how much money I give these things.
Not like the UAE giving everyone a $20 a month thing. I mean, what if you were to say, hey, the core server one, there's a zillion instances of it, but like, hey, a version of GPT-4 or of Claude or of Google Gemini or, whatever it is, but like, hey, my instantiation of it, here's $10,000. Here's $1,000. Here's $100. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to buy some stuff? Do you want to start a company? Do you want to, what would you, the computer, do with 100, 1,000, 10,000, however much money? I saw that like in the earliest days, and it was a very intriguing experiment that didn't really go anywhere. Would it still go nowhere? Probably, but it might be an interesting thing to try.
Well, people won't know because they'll run out of credits because Daniel vetoed their free ChatGPT Plus account.
Yeah.
Moving on, Duolingo, Daniel's other like favorite company, right? You're a big Duolingo guy.
I'm like 1,500 something days into
big
my
Duolingo guy.
I've done Italian, Spanish, Swahili, German on there.
I did a little Japanese.
A couple others, yeah.
And then I fell off. It was good for like maybe 2 weeks. I did 2 weeks of Japanese.
I was in the top 5% of learners at the end of the year, and the little Duolingo recap that they gave me, I barely use it. I keep the streak alive. I do 1 or 2 lessons a day. Some days I'll get a few extra lessons in there. I could have learned so much more Spanish in the years that I've been studying Spanish now at this point. And that puts me in the top 5% of learners. That means 95% of people using Duolingo signed up, did 2 lessons, and then put it down.
So about a month ago, Duolingo announced that they were heavily investing in AI and that AI, they gave the whole like AI is going to be an employee and they're going to be doing a lot of the work now. And indeed, they rolled out several new support for several new languages that they said was
a whole bunch of language pairs that they didn't have groups for before.
And
because machine
content.
translation is something that these are good at. And so if you have good machine translation of this would be this in this language from A to B, and you also have A to C and B to C languages, why not make a bunch of those lessons together? It seems like a natural fit. I'm 100% behind it so far. Where's the twist?
Well, I don't know that there is a twist. And it wasn't a message of we're getting rid of a bunch of people, but it was that we're going to start doing way more with AI. We're going to start supporting.
Saying that they were going to get rid of a bunch of the people who were making the content for these things. There's the twist, Hunter. Yep.
There's been an ounce of backlash.
There has been an ounce of backlash. And just like...
Is this virtue signaling?
I think so, right. But also, yeah, anytime somebody's going to lose jobs due to AI, that's going to be a big hot button issue for years to come. And it'll be a very easy thing to be outraged about. I've mentioned on this podcast before, and I'll mention
They're taking our jobs.
Some jobs are not the best job for people to be doing. When it comes to high quality translation of like, I work at the UN and need to make sure that this law is being written down correctly, or like I am the translator for like 2 ambassadors of different countries.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that should really be a person for sure. Forever. I don't think that we're replacing that with a robot unless, well, I don't think it should be robots.
I saw that Google AR glasses demo that like stuttered.
The problem is like you could have a translator who's going to either lie or misrepresent. In fact, there's an Italian phrase, I think it's traduttore, were 2 words that sound almost exactly the same. And in English, it translates to translator, traitor. So, yeah, you could have a human that's misrepresenting. You could also have an AI that's misrepresenting the accurate translation of things. But the point here being, you and I have worked previously on machine learning models that were looking at like, here's a whole bunch of news articles and we have to classify them. And other jobs I've had are here's social media posts or here's this, but like classification of this is or isn't thing that we care about times 100 times 2 million news articles a day, whatever it ends up being. Like that's a really popular natural language processing problem. AI, large language models, whatever, the current crop of machine learning goodies are very, very good at a lot of these kinds of things. As it relates to Duolingo, I think that we've got good enough machine translation for a non-disastrous, if you get a word wrong or a nuance wrong system, that you should be embracing this technology. You probably still need some people to be double checking the lessons or be double checking if, user feedback says this was off or whatever. But like, I remember when Duolingo was working on adding in Swahili and they had like a beta program. There was a special part on their website and they showed like, here's the progress that's being made. And whenever it first came out, it was clearly people's voice recordings for each of the like things being said, as opposed to here's the cutesy bear talking or the boy or the girl or whatever. And now that they've got the AI voices, that gives them the freedom to express in a variety of other languages more easily, more quickly, and more content, which means that you can connect more of the world together. I realize that's a very fluffy way of saying it, but like I truly believe natural language processing is a great way of bringing the world together. If we can take computers and that will help translate between folks, that's one of the best uses of this technology. And then conversely, it's one of the worst uses of a huge pile of people to manually have to make every iteration of every one of these Duolingo lessons. Use the technology. Use it to do this more intelligently, more lessons, more quickly, with fewer people having to do the high quality checks for it. And we're seeing that across a bunch of other industries as well. Is it virtue signaling? Is it whatever? Yes, I think so. Am I upset about what Duolingo's doing? No.
Send your hate mail to Daniel at danielbishop.com.
Daniel at theymightbeselfaware.pizza.
.pizza.
Yeah. Do we have the .pizza domain yet?
No, and we never will.
That's right. Have you ever been to a .pizza domain?
I didn't know that .pizza was one of the options. There's a lot of options.
There's a lot of options out there. I'm not 100% sure .pizza is, but pizza TLD.
Top level domain.
Squarespace. Nope. Oh, on Squarespace, need inspiration? Generate a domain using AI.
You just got 3 people fired. Go into that website right now.
Okay, phew. .pizza is real. And I've got $12. Tell you what, I'm going to ask Claude, because I like Anthropic's models, I'm going to ask Claude, you've got $12 and you could buy They Might Be Self-Aware Pizza or do something else with the money. Which would you rather do?
Well, I would like to talk about one company that is not replacing humans with AI, but there's a twist. This company has, or had, part of the twist, had over 700 employees in India.
700 AIs.
Well, so they had 700 employees in India pretending to be AI. This company's called Builder.ai.
AI stands for Assistants in India, right?
It was a Microsoft-backed company that was for building apps.
Everybody-backed company. They had a lot of different big, like, venture capitalist players in there as well.
Billion-dollar company, Tres Commas Club status. And so the idea was you would go there and you describe the app that you want, and their AI would magically build it. And they were able to ride this train to a decent amount of success. However, what was discovered is that an assistant called Natasha, you would start with a template and then you would request changes to the templates. And you would do this by talking with their AI, Natasha. You say, Natasha, can we please make these 4 changes to the template? And it would go in the background. It would process. And the AI would come back. Yes, I have made your changes for you. But what was actually going on is it was being routed to this team of 700 software engineers who had access to the templates. They would make the changes for you. They weren't allowed to speak about what they were doing. They had to pretend like they were AI. I don't know exactly what that means. I have done this task for you. Your phone number is now correct, sir. Thank you.
I keep forgetting how good you are at accents.
It's incredible.
That was a perfect robot accent. It's like I'm in the mountains of Robonia right now.
So they were pretending they were the AI. And the problem is that the leadership of that company was not being transparent about what was actually happening. And they were positioning this to investors, which is fraud, that all of these tasks were being completed by AI when in reality there was humans. But there is a discussion to be had here about, so in AI, we have something called human in the loop that's still incredibly common, where there's a human involved in the loop of leveraging AI to do something.
Right. I work with AI machine learning models right now where we do still have human in the loop. I think that there should pretty much always be a human in the loop. I was describing it for Duolingo. I think it's great that they have made more courses more easily available more quickly, but they should still have people available to spot check things that might be off or weird or have been reported as wrong. All of the work that I do for money for various people right now involves human in the loop processes as well for anything. And
so
I think
is it really AI? Is it really AI then? Or
yes,
is it just
because there's actual machine learning models behind it. It's just if the machine learning model is not confident enough or it, just a whatever percent spot check is going to go off to people to ensure like ongoing quality.
So humans being behind the AI is way more common than you would probably think. If you're not in this industry, there's still a lot of humans involved.
Pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
Now I've seen this in multiple companies where you start with a process that you believe eventually AI will be able to automate. And you start by doing it the hard way with humans with the thesis that over time we'll be able to automate more and more parts of this.
If we get enough examples of what it's supposed to be, we can then automate it. And when it comes to, like I mentioned, text classification earlier, that's absolutely the case. You give me 2,000 or so news articles about ransomware attacks. Why not?
Sure.
Hey, did a company get hit by a ransomware attack? Here is a news article. Nope, this was, and it doesn't have to say it was sports or it was finance or it just, was this an article about a ransomware attack? No, yes, no, yes, no. 2,000 examples, even split between positives and negatives. And I think that you could make a pretty darn good one. And it's not that hard to get that 2,000 examples, but where do those come from, Hunter?
They come from the humans.
And then after you've got your model, what do you do to test it? Do you take a whole bunch of articles that hadn't seen before and run them through and have somebody check it?
Why, yes, you do, Daniel.
And what do you do after you deploy that model to production? Are you going to just assume that it's right forever all the time? Or will you take the low confidence answers and have somebody spot check those?
More humans. More humans, please.
There are humans always in the loop, but that's not what Builder AI was doing. Builder AI showed up in like 2016 and they said that you can build apps like ordering pizza. I want to build apps and I know how to order pizza. That sounds both easy and delicious. And that you
more
could build
pizza.
More pizza. More
Pizza.
Me. That's a trademark phrase, sir. You're going to have to scrub that from the record. So their CEO promised that you could build apps 6 times faster and 70% cheaper than traditional development. That's a lot cheaper and a lot faster. But that 70% cheaper, I think, is what any offshored team would basically be promising anyways. And that 6 times faster sounds an awful lot like you just have a bunch of templates that you're going to make minor changes to. It turns out this is what they were doing. In 2019, Builder.ai got in trouble for basically just having a bunch of templates that they were making minor changes to and calling it AI. Note that I said 2019, as in the before times. This is before we have what I will call the modern implementation of like AI. And by that, I mean large language models and so on. So the AI was basically just a complete fake, a facade, a farce, other F words. It was just hundreds of developers in India and apparently also a couple of other companies, but mostly India, manually coding some stuff. Fine. Okay. That's not, and the articles that we're seeing these days of like, and they just imploded and it was because of, it wasn't really AI. That's because AI is making headlines right now. They imploded because of the financial fraud.
Investor fraud.
Yeah, it was a lot of investor fraud. They were claiming revenue in 2024 of $220 million. Their actual revenue, it turns out, was like 50 million. That's why they've gone away suddenly and very violently. Somebody pulled out whatever funding they could. They were left with no money left. Oops, we have to fold. All of their investors are standing there holding the bag, wondering what the hell just happened. I'm sure that in the last couple of years, Builder.ai was using more actual large language models. I don't know for certain because I can't find much like specifics on them anymore. But of course they would have been using as soon as ChatGPT's original implementation came out. They absolutely would have been using that. There's no way they weren't. It was the investor fraud that did them in.
So they had the hypothesis that one day the AI would be able to take the place of these 700 engineers in India. And a lot of companies have this hypothesis right now that over time and over really just the next couple of years, that more and more of the positions that they have will be able to be held by agentic AI. And another discussion that has started to develop is, do we see a future where these agentic AI employees are basically being compensated far more than their human counterparts because they're delivering far more value? And can we imagine companies hiring $1 million rockstar AIs to come work for them because they claim at least that they can replace 20 $100,000 employees? You'll save a substantial amount of money. Is that?
Well, you just said because they deliver more value. Right. That's what any company really wants out of a software engineer. Depending on the company that you're looking at, some are going to be like, you are in butts in seats between 9 and 5, and that's when you're mine, boy. Like, okay, fine. But most of
Was that an impersonation of me when I was your manager?
Not. No, you and I are very much more of the mind of, we have a bunch of work roomed out, and this is how long that's going to take, and so on. And if you happen to finish a little bit early and you're ahead of your work, I'm not checking, timesheets per se. And I think that that's much more the case in this information set of industries that we should take, which is there's work to do. If you get it done, maybe you should have more free time. There was a labor revolution less than a century ago, fought in blood, and that got us our, 2-day weekend. And early 1900s, there were lots of articles saying like, in the day of tomorrow, you're going to have so much productivity that the average work week will be like 2 days. Wow, great. That is obviously not materialized, but maybe it will someday.
But do you think AI employees, is there a scenario where they're getting paid far more than their humans?
Right. So Builder.ai saying you can make apps for 70% less cost. We're going to use lower cost India-based employees. Not to say anything about anyone from India, just like that's where you tend to do a lot of your offshoring. You're going to use lower cost employees and you're going to get your apps out more cheaply. But then conversely, like, okay, would I pay more for an employee that drives our bottom line forward more and faster? And as I was relating to like taking time off or this or that or the other thing, a good manager should be caring much more about results. And you often have to pay for the kinds of people that are going to get you those kinds of results. So my answer is yes. I think that rather than paying close to nothing for it, we're going to be paying AI employees, like you mentioned Devin, which originally you hadn't hired, and now you're thinking of like maybe getting that next version of it. 1, 2, 5, 10 years down the line from now, is Devin or some other thing like that going to be worth paying $1 million a year to?
Devin
This
is around
GPT $200 a month OpenAI super plan. This is way past that because it's hooked into your whole system and it's giving presentations and it's, you know, automated entire departments.
Sure.
At that point.
And again, for those who don't know, Devin is a junior level software engineer that you can hire for about $500 a month to conceptually, at least, do the similar work volume that a junior level engineer would do.
But like on its own, because
correct.
My sort of knee-jerk reaction is I can do way more than just a junior employee going back and forth with like just Klein, you know, the VS Code extension right now, but a much more senior employee watching over it and directing it and so on, as opposed to I gave it access to Monday.com or Jira or whatever, and it sees our tickets coming into, I'm on it, boss.
Yes. And so today it can do the job of one junior level engineer, at least that's its value proposition.
Allegedly. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if we go 2 years down the line and it can do the job of 20 junior level engineers.
Yeah. It can get bad things done more quickly.
And today you're paying a junior level engineer $100,000. That's not crazy. So what if it was $500,000 a year, but it does the job of 20 junior level engineers? I mean, it makes dollars and cents. What I'm skeptical about is I think that AI, that these generative coding models, that there's a lot of commoditization in it, and being able to support these giant prices. I just think there's so much competition and everyone has very similar results.
It's a race to the bottom right now.
Right.
All of the API providers are making things as dirt cheap as they possibly can. There's the occasional, here's our super duper expensive tier that has at least one person signed up for all of them. And he might be on this podcast. But yeah, I don't think anyone's going to pay $1 million a year because somebody's going to have the open source version of it that costs you $100 a month instead.
Well, now, what if Daniel, you and I claimed to be an AI, but we're we're the senior level engineer AI, and we could charge an incredible premium because it's for the first time ever. For the low price of like $2-3 million a year, you can have an AI, you can assign it completely autonomously tasks, and it comes back and it actually looks like a senior engineer did it, and it actually takes about the same amount of time that a senior engineer would take to do the task. It's just revolutionary AI. What if we pretended to be the AI?
Do I get to do investor fraud still?
You can make TikTok videos. Because apparently on TikTok, that's what they're doing. There are TikTokers now claiming to be AI. We talked on, this was like 2 episodes ago, one of Google's new video generative models, Veo 3.
Which is very fun. I'm having a blast with it.
This episode brought to you by Man Rocks.
Man Rock.
But on TikTok, people are posing as the AI and saying, this was AI generated. Or I am AI. And there was a meme about this before where people like stand on the street corners and say things like flowers. I like flowers. Flowers. Give me change. It's just an evolution of that, I suppose. But I think that we'll see more and more of it, of people pretending to be AI.
I've seen a few different iterations of it. There was one where it was much more like the earlier days of AI, where things are still kind of dreamy and like things fluidly moving into one another, and some very, very good interpretations of what that looked like, which was neat. But then I've also seen very recently the actual Veo 3 video was like of people being interviewed saying like, well, do you know that you're just prompts?
Yes.
And then something like, what do you mean? Like, you're just prompts. You didn't exist before or after this. What? And then the real videos now are of like someone in a pizzeria, asking like some guy working that way, hey, did you know you're a prompt? What? And yeah, that's a fun trend. Fun for now because it looks just like the really realistic videos that are coming out. I would also posit that it's kind of worrisome because we are already at the point where I, a person in this industry, am looking at some of these videos and going, that's nearly indistinguishable from real life.
It is. I was reading an argument that Veo 3 is really pushing forward the simulation theory, because we're getting to this point where the simulation is becoming more and more indistinguishable from life as you watch these videos that Veo 3 generated kind of instantly.
We're willing the simulation theory into a reality.
Very, very much so.
It's the same thing with the dead internet theory, where like the internet isn't real. It's just all been bots forever. And I'm the only real person on the internet. Some people believe in, let's call it a strong interpretation of that, of it actually is literally all bots, or
it's all a projection,
or just a lot of it is bots. And I think more and more of it is going to increasingly be bot driven and bots trying to push certain narratives and so on. Everyone's got their thing, that it's not just people with their own biases inadvertently pushing narratives, or, Russian troll farms or something like that. It's like just a bunch of bots trying to get you to buy more products or think a certain way. And we can talk again more another time about like the implications of that. But from a video perspective, from the simulation theory perspective, it's the same thing as like the dead internet theory of the dead video, the dead anything. And you'd probably be seeing it on the internet. But like, what if we get to a point where every TV show, every, news program, every movie, granted, there's so much CG in pretty much every movie as it is, but imagine if it wasn't even just CG graphics. It was not even real actors. The entire thing was just prompted. And I think we're like less than a year away. Look at 1 year ago where Sora was.
Yeah, the spooky kids.
Right. And now where we are with Veo 3, 1 year from now, are we going to get to the point where we do have full feature-length films? There already are.
There already
a couple
are,
people who've done like full feature-length films using this. It will get easier and better and so on, to the point where what is real? Like the simulation theory of nothing is real. It's all a simulation. An increasingly large percentage of reality will be a simulation over time.
But never this show. Never They Might Be Self-Aware. We're as real can be. Gosh darn it. We're definitely not AI. I'm pinching myself right now, and it's very real, very realistic.
Little tops from Inception,
Exactly. Yeah, we got the top, we got the pinch. So these are humans up here.
You can tell from his accents that he is definitely human.
Oh, definitely.
No AI can recreate that.
I am human. You have been listening to They Might Be Self-Aware.
They might be.
You can watch us
self-aware
on YouTube.
Pinch your nose for it. It really helps.
You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts.
No, for the robot voice hunter.
There's too many voices in my head. I'm losing track of reality because it's 100% a simulation, folks. If you are not aware, you are living in a simulation. And luckily, in this simulation, there's one show, and that show is...
They might be self-aware.